Have you ever wished to be unshakable? To stand in the middle of life's storms, betrayal, rejection, loss, and not collapse like a house of cards? Most people dream of this sort of strength, but they mistake it for hardness. They imagine becoming stone, cold and indifferent. Yet hardness is brittle. It cracks. Real strength is more like water. It bends, it flows, and it cannot be broken. What if I told you that the reason people hurt you is not because of what they do, but because of what you believe about yourself? Pain is rarely about the event itself. Words, after all, are just sounds. Actions are movements. Silence is simply the absence of noise. What makes these things hurt is the meaning you give them. Someone insults you, and it pierces only because some part of you secretly believes it might be true. A person abandons you, and you ache because you tell yourself the story that you are unworthy of staying for. Life itself doesn't wound. It's the echoes within you, the old scars, the shadows you haven't embraced, that make the cut feel deep. We spend our lives trying to shield ourselves from these wounds. We armor ourselves with pride, with cleverness, with control. But the irony is that the more armor you wear, the more sensitive you become. Because armor is built on fear, and fear sharpens every blow. The path to becoming untouchable, to being someone that no insult, no rejection, no betrayal can truly shake, is not through defense. It is through surrender, through a deep seeing of who and what you are. When you see clearly, the blade passes right through, and there is nothing left to wound. Most people imagine freedom as escape. If I can just avoid pain, I'll be safe. But avoidance chains you to pain. The only way to be free is to stop running, to sit with it, to listen, to see what it's telling you. For pain is not your enemy. Pain is the messenger of truth. When you feel hurt, life is showing you where you are still hiding from yourself, where you still believe the lie of unworthiness, where you still cling to illusions. Hurt is not punishment. It is the universe pointing you home. Imagine this. Someone criticizes you. They call you foolish, or lazy, or weak. What happens inside? If you burn with anger, if you collapse into shame, that is not about them. That is your unconscious nodding, saying, yes, I feared this was true. But if you have already looked into yourself, if you have met your foolishness, your laziness, your weakness, and said, yes, these too are mine, then the insult falls flat. Because you have nothing to defend, you are whole. And the whole man, the whole woman, cannot be injured by fragments thrown by others. To become untouchable is not to rise above being human. It is to descend so deeply into being human that nothing frightens you anymore. You do not flinch at imperfection. You do not collapse at rejection, because you no longer live in the illusion that you must be flawless to be loved. The reason people remain fragile is because they are still chasing approval. They are still clinging to the idea of how they should be, and anything that threatens that idea cuts like a knife. Freedom comes only when you drop the idea altogether. The self you are protecting, this mask you wear, is the very source of your pain. You polish it, defend it, parade it, but deep down, you know it is a mask. And so every word, every rejection, every failure threatens to tear it apart. What if you dropped it? What if you stopped trying to be untouchable by pretending? Then you would discover the strange freedom of being nobody. Nobody has nothing to prove. Nobody cannot be humiliated. Nobody cannot be betrayed. To be nobody is to be free. But the ego resists. It whispers, if I stop defending myself, I will be destroyed. Yet look closer. Has defending yourself ever saved you? Or has it only kept you in constant battle? Like a man swinging his sword at shadows, exhausting himself, never realizing the enemy lives within. The moment you stop resisting, the battle ends. The arrows fall harmlessly because they have no target to land in. And in that silence, in that surrender, you realize nothing and nobody outside you ever had the power to hurt you. The only wound was your refusal to see yourself. Of course, this is not easy. To face your own darkness requires courage. It is easier to blame others, easier to say, they hurt me, they made me feel this way. But this is slavery, because if others make you feel, then you will forever be at their mercy. True liberation begins when you say, no, what I feel is mine, and I will meet it. At first, this feels like burning, but gradually, you see, the fire is not consuming you, it is cleansing you. What burns away is only illusion. What remains is what cannot be destroyed. And so, when you hear me say, nothing and nobody will ever hurt you again, I am not promising you a life without pain. That would be childish. What I am pointing to is the possibility of meeting pain so fully that it loses its sting. Imagine touching fire, and instead of flinching, you feel its warmth, its energy, and you bow to it. Pain becomes wisdom, rejection becomes redirection, criticism becomes insight, loss becomes space for new life. When you see this, when you live this, you realize the world has not changed. You have. And that changes everything. Think of the ocean. On the surface, there are storms, winds, waves, foam, chaos, but go deep and you find stillness. The storm rages above, but the depths remain calm. To live from your surface is to be tossed by every insult, every disappointment, every betrayal. To live from your depth is to know that while the waves crash, the ocean remains whole. Becoming untouchable is not escaping the storm. It is learning to descend into your own depth, to the place inside that is untouched by the drama of appearances. There, nothing and nobody can wound you. But of course, the surface is seductive. The ego loves the waves, the performance, the dance of approval and rejection. It clings to praise, it recoils at criticism, and so you are thrown about endlessly at the mercy of opinion. When you dive deep into yourself, when you embrace not just your light but your darkness, you realize that you do not end at the surface. You are the ocean itself. Then even the storm is seen as part of you. The insults, the betrayals, the losses, they belong, but they no longer define you. But how do I get there? How do I find this depth? The answer is disarmingly simple. Stop running. Stop distracting. Sit still and let the pain in. Do not push it away. Feel it fully. Notice where it lives in your body. Notice the story you tell around it. And instead of believing the story, simply observe. Do not say, this should not be happening. Say, so this is how it feels. When you stop resisting, the pain softens. When you stop telling stories, the wound heals. Awareness, not avoidance, is the medicine. The things you think will destroy you are often the very things that save you. Heartbreak, failure, humiliation, these are the cracks through which light enters. Without them, you would remain asleep, clinging to false security. Pain wakes you up. It drags you, kicking and screaming, into the present moment. And if you let it, it reveals your strength. This is why the saints and sages did not flee suffering. They bowed to it. They understood that to be untouchable is not to never feel pain, it is to let pain do its holy work. And what is that work? To strip you of illusions, to peel away the false self, the mask, the persona, to show you what you truly are. Because at your core, you are not fragile. You are not the little bundle of opinions and fears you defend so desperately. You are awareness itself, spacious, vast, ungraspable. Can awareness be hurt? Thoughts pass through it. Feelings rise and fall. Events come and go. But awareness remains, like the sky untouched by clouds. To live from this awareness is to see that nothing and nobody has ever truly touched you. Think of all the times you believed, this will break me. Yet here you are, alive, breathing, listening. The storm passed, but you remained. Perhaps scarred, perhaps changed, but still here. The truth is, you were never broken. It was only the mask that cracked, and thank goodness it did. For every crack brings you closer to yourself. The things we dread are often the very things that liberate us. Once you see this, you no longer fear suffering. You welcome it as a teacher, and in welcoming it, you discover you are untouchable. But remember, untouchable does not mean cold. It does not mean you stop loving or caring or feeling. Quite the opposite. When you are no longer afraid of being hurt, you love more deeply, you care more freely, because you no longer need people to act a certain way for you to feel safe. You give without fear of rejection, you love without demand of return, you stand in the fire of intimacy, unshielded, because you know you cannot be consumed. This is true freedom, to live open, vulnerable, yet unshaken, to let life flow through you without defense. And so, when people hurt you, when life disappoints you, remember, it is not the world against you. It is the world showing you yourself. Every insult is an invitation to look within. Every loss is a call to let go. Every betrayal is a lesson in trust, not in others, but in life itself. You cannot control the waves, but you can remember that you are the ocean. This is not detachment in the sense of withdrawal. It is intimacy of the deepest kind. You are so close to life, so at one with it, that nothing stands apart to wound you. Still, people ask, but Alan, isn't this just indifference? If nothing can hurt me, do I not become numb? No. Numbness is the opposite. Numbness is armor, a refusal to feel. What I am speaking of is feeling so fully that nothing lingers as poison. The grief comes, and you let it wash through. The anger rises, and you let it burn clean. The joy blossoms, and you let it dazzle. Then all fades, and you remain. The untouchable man, the untouchable woman, is not unfeeling. They are feeling itself unblocked, unobstructed, free. They are life, flowing without resistance. Nothing and nobody will ever hurt you again, not because pain disappears, but because you stop clinging to it. Hurt is not the blow itself. It is the story, the resistance, the refusal to accept what is. When you see this, life becomes astonishingly light. People may misunderstand you, they may judge, reject, betray, and you may still feel the sting, but it passes like wind through a hollow reed. No residue, no chains. You are free. And in that freedom, you discover a joy untouched by circumstance, a joy that no one can take away. Perhaps you wonder, is this practical? Does this not sound too lofty, too abstract? But look closely at your own life. Has clinging ever saved you? Has resisting ever brought peace? Or has it only tightened the chains? To live as awareness, to welcome pain as teacher, to see yourself as whole, this is not philosophy. It is the most practical thing in the world. Because life will not stop hurting, people will not stop disappointing, but you can stop being destroyed by it. And that makes all the difference. That is the birth of true resilience. So I invite you, the next time you feel hurt, pause, do not rush to blame, do not rush to defend. Ask instead, what in me is being touched? What old wound is this awakening? Then breathe into it, see it clearly, embrace it as yours. In that moment, you shift from victim to witness, from puppet to master, from surface to depth. And the miracle is, once you have embraced a wound, no one can use it against you again. Once you own your shadow, no one can cast it upon you. This is how you become untouchable. Life is not asking you to be perfect. It is asking you to be whole, to embrace not only your virtues, but your flaws, not only your triumphs, but your failures, not only your light, but your shadow. Wholeness is immunity, because what is whole cannot be broken. So let the world do as it will. Let people praise or condemn. Let fortune rise or fall. You remain steady, because you are not clinging to fragments. You are standing in the whole. And from that place, you laugh, you love, you live, and you are free from hurt, not by avoidance, but by truth. Remember that the world is a mirror. What you see, what you feel, is always reflecting something within you. If you know yourself deeply, the mirror cannot shock you. If you accept yourself fully, the mirror cannot shame you. So do not fear the reflections. Look at them, learn from them, love them, and then move freely. For the man who accepts himself is beyond insult. The woman who embraces herself is beyond betrayal. They still feel, but they are not bound. They still weep, but they are not broken. They still bleed, but they are not undone. Stop trying to protect yourself. Let life touch you fully. Let pain teach you. Let loss strip you. Let love open you. And through it all, remember, you are not the storm, you are the ocean. You are not the wound. You are awareness itself. And when you live from this truth, then nothing and nobody will ever hurt you again, for you are already whole.